Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Circle of the World podcast, where we discuss Joe Abercrombie's First Law series. I am one of your hosts, Lord Chamberlain Jeffrey, and here are my co-hosts.
Arch Lector George.
And Harrison, the Adeptus Historical.
Very tired Adeptus Historical.
Yeah. Not feeling the best. So if you hear coughing or like a dead tone, that's why. I'm not feeling very good.
I was going to try to make it to the end of the intro to address that, but fuck, I couldn't. You guys. Oh, poor Adeptus Historical. You know, in his old age, he gets more and more infirm. Please forgive him. As you all know, we're covering The Blade itself, the first book in the original trilogy. Today we'll be covering She Loves Me Not and The Seed on this episode. So let's get started. Harrison, you doing okay over there, man? You doing okay?
Yeah. yeah, I'll be all right. I'm excited to do it. I'm just don't have as much energy. No right. Captain Luthor's today.
Oh,
Captain Luthor!
We just did it for you. You're so my sweet. Man. There you go. We got your back. Again, thank everybody for all your support. For, the 25 people that have been following. That's me holding all my family members at gunpoint. Please just remember to follow us on social media and our YouTube page, where I promise you we're improving. We are improving. So
yeah, I know we said we're going to do a video about some theories last week, but shit happens, and we've all got lives as well. So you'll have to wait.
Yeah. By the time this episode releases, George's bias theory will not be out for another 2 months. So at the rate it's going, God damn it.
Yeah, so keep your eyes peeled eventually.
I think George is just gathering the courage to come out to like fully realize his dream, all right. Well,
so do we want to get to the chapter?
Right. Well, since I guess we're doing two chapters today, we should probably start off with the meme of the week.
Yeah, I should have remembered that.
Yeah.
So we've got user on Reddit, Fisticuff Sam. And I'm not going to read the whole thing, but it's that meme where it's the guy talking to the girl at the party and she's clearly not interested. And it's just a big rant about the first law, which is just fantastic.
It's how we all want to talk to people, like explaining it to them. Like, don't you understand?
You need to know how good this fucking book is.
Mm-hmm. That's how I am with all my friends. And that's why I have no friends.
Except us, Jeff.
Except you two. Everyone else is left. That fucker talks about these books all the goddamn time. I'm tired of it. So that's a good meme. And who's the user again?
So that's user Fisticuff Sam.
Fisticuff Sam. I like that. That's good. I like that. Well, thank you for that meme, Fisticuff. Appreciate it.
Oh, and again, that's spoilery. So
is it
just
spoilery?
Yeah, it is. So if you don't want to read the book, don't read it.
It's definitely spoilery, Jeff.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. All right, whatever. It's spoilery. Fine. Whatever. Anyway. Yes, hashtag spoilers, right? Is that how you're supposed to do it nowadays? The youngins, hashtag everything?
You're just so old, Jeff.
I know.
Why aren't you the Adeptus?
You don't say hashtag out loud. I've told you 1,000 times.
Oh, that's it. It's a silent hashtag. I'm so sorry, guys. I am also actually kind of hungover. So Harrison's sick. I'm kind of hungover. George is just fine. He's
I'm
just
carrying today.
He's glowing.
His back George's back is gonna hurt today.
Yeah, we'll see. I'm trying to help you out, George. All right.
Well, it's usually me who's either drunk or hungover, so it's fine.
It's all good. So our first chapter read through is She Loves Me Not, and we come upon our boy Giselle Dan Luthor in the middle of a match against Master Filio, right? Filio, whatever. And
Everything you're saying is oh.
Well, if the listeners are confused by this, it's because Jeff has just got a new microphone and he's very excited about it.
Yeah, I did. I got the new mic. I got a new mic. I hope I sound better. If I don't, please let me know with your constructive criticism. Any like deconstructive criticism, I will not accept. So,
So, right, so I love how this starts. Like we start halfway through the fight,
mm-hmm.
and it's just 2-2, and Varuz is just fucking absolutely furious, isn't it?
Dude,
what are you talking about 2? What do you mean 2?
Yo, dude, this is because like during the break, like after Filio hits him, he touches him for the second time. That's like okay, sudden death, right? And they go to the break, like corner. They go to the corner, as in like a fight. West is being a good cornerman. He's offering him water. He's massaging his shoulders. He's like, "You can do this." Varuz is just straight up like a racist, right? Because he's like, "This guy isn't fucking part of the union." He's just like, he's just losing his goddamn mind.
I will say this, though, like with Giselle, he's been training all this time, and he's supposed to be really good, and fucking Varus is freaking out because when you train your student, once they're in the ring, you can't fucking correct them. At this point, he's just like, "What the fuck?"
Yeah,
that's it. It's all gonna be instinct anyway. So he's like, "Oh my god, you should be winning this. I trained you correctly. You've done well otherwise. Why is this not working?" Yeah, he's self-centered, but I feel like a lot of teachers would be like, "What the fuck, bro?"
Yeah.
Varuz went full death metal. That's what I'll say.
And let's just accept the fact, right? It works. The tough love approach, the whiplash approach, as I like to call it. It's just if you'd ever seen that film, that's a good example.
No, it's a great film. No, I know exactly what you're talking about. It's a great film, and I know what you mean. I'm just saying, but Varuz wasn't even giving him like pointers. He wasn't saying, "Hey, he sucks."
No, but he's getting him in like the angry sort of mindset. Getting his mind straight onto the fight. Like, did I waste my time on you? Like, does anybody want to hear that?
Yeah, true. No one wants to hear that.
And honestly, maybe Varuz saw the change ever since Glock to talk to him and whatnot. But maybe Varuz maybe knows Giselle well enough to know that actually tough love and being hard on Giselle is actually what Giselle needs, if you think about it. Anytime he improves, it's because he gets fucking a hard lesson, and this is a continuing thing. Giselle always improves and always gets better, but he usually has to take a hard lesson for him to know what to do and how to adapt. So,
okay.
And I like how this advice as well, like probably unknowing to Varuz, is that it ties into Giselle's like main motive. He wants to be somebody. So like if he fucks up now, this is like you say the deciding touch. If he fucks it up, it's over.
Right. Yeah. It's like high stakes for him.
Yeah, so that's a good way. It's a good manipulation,
That's true. Okay. I like that. It's good. One thing I did want to point out, I was like, I like how like I said earlier, like apparently Westport isn't part of the union. They just straight up, they were just like, this is fucking Styrian, and props to Filio. The guy didn't even look tired during the break. He was just like, he's just jumping up and down, and he's like listening to the trainer. And Giselle's just like,
yeah. We also see the difference too in the escalation of difficulty, because the first person he fought was pretty easy for him, and he's like, "Oh, it's easy. I'm gonna win this." And now it's like, okay, they're starting to get more difficult. I like that there's that progression. It's not like everything is easy,
Right, and I like how Giselle was thinking, "Oh, the final. That means Gorst. I don't know if I want that." he was like, "I don't know. Maybe I should just."
He doesn't.
He doesn't think that in this bit. Oh no, he does.
He does.
Oh yeah, cut that one out. Sorry.
You're fine. Don't need to cut it out.
But I like how he said, like I said earlier, like the Varus really trying to get him angry. So then when he stands up and he sees Filio in the circle, he's like, "That fucking little shit. I'm gonna fucking kill him."
Yeah, I like that bit as well. So he gets done. He beats. It's very clear that he beats him, and he's again at the bar. Or I think they're at the bar. They're just playing cards at their spot.
Yeah.
And they're playing their game, and I really like Giselle's whole little so and so does something, as in he's got this analyzing characteristic where anytime somebody does something, he's like, oh, that person has to say that they think they're better than everybody or whatever.
Yeah.
And I like how here, because his mind isn't on the game, it's on the contest, it's on Artie, he is like, Casper says this, as to say he's, oh, who the fuck cares? Like, he's like, whatever. He's like, it doesn't matter, I don't really care. He doesn't care about analyzing or trying to be witty, he's just like, worn out and thinking about a girl.
Yeah. And I like that break in repetition. Like, we've had this in almost every Giselle character. Whenever he like meets a new character or something like that, this is how he describes like things that are going on, and then just to break that all of a sudden is it's a very interesting narrative thing.
Yeah, it definitely shows us that it's like a showing less than a telling that his mind is elsewhere.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, he could have just sat us down in this bit and gone, right, Giselle was sat down playing cards, but he wasn't concentrating on the cards.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But he's actually shown us, and that's such a good fluid way of doing it. And Joe does that so much.
He does, for sure. He's very good at the whole show don't tell. That's true. I like how one of Giselle's biggest worries is murder by West, because he's like, how do I bet her without doing her harm and me getting stabbed?
And it's funny too, it is a predicament. I mean, if we were Giselle, right? Even if we're better than Giselle is morally, it's kind of a weird situation to be in, because you like this girl. You don't want to just, stop seeing her. She enjoys your company. You're the only one who spends time with her anyways. So it's not like it's bad. But then again, you probably shouldn't, because it's going to make her look worse. You probably shouldn't sleep with her because you made a promise to your friend. But at the same time, you're falling in love with her, It's like, it is kind of a predicament. It's easy to be like, oh, he's just being an ass. But I wouldn't know what to do, to be honest. It's kind of a tough spot.
Oh, yeah. It's a difficult situation to be in, for sure.
Yeah.
And so, like you guys said, Giselle's not interested in what they're talking about. They ask him about the contest. He's not really giving them much. And then they start talking about Princess Therese from Talons and how beautiful she is. And I like how, wink, wink. He's like, she looks cold. She looks cold as shit. Like, just, I don't know. And then they switch over to Aris, Caspa's cousin. And Giselle, he's just like, whatever. This bitch is goofy. This
like a rag.
Like a rag.
Kissing an old rag. That's just it's a brilliant bit of imagery, that.
And he calls Jallenhorn out for like, you just want her for your money. Her money.
And he's like, yeah, well,
yeah,
of course.
It wouldn't hurt. And then, of course, Brent. Has to be Brent. He brings up another option. He goes, have you guys met West's sister? And right here, Giselle goes, I like the slow implosion.
Yeah.
When like Brent is talking, they're all joking. They're talking about like, yeah, she seems like the willing type, that kind of stuff. He just slowly implodes and then he flips his shit.
Yeah. And I can imagine this is like a film scene.
Yeah.
So like, it's just like you can see them like they're out of frame. Having the conversation, and it's just him getting angrier and angrier for like a minute and a half, and it's just like,
Go ahead, Harrison.
I was just gonna say, like you said, he gets all upset. I do like the imagery, George, of him being like in a film, and it's just showing his face, and like the sounds are kind of blurred out, and he's focusing on other things, and he hears Brent say that, and he looks up at him, and then he's just listening to him speak. And then he just fucking explodes. He's like, fuck you, Brent. You piece of shit. And
like a fucking chicken.
Yeah, he's like, I'll carve you. Like a fucking chicken.
And like he flips the table too, right? He just like flips it over.
Yeah, straight away. Fuck you.
Yeah. And then the guys, Jallenhorn, Caspa, and Brent, they're like aghast, and Giselle looks at him and he's like, oh shit. He has a fleeting moment where he does feels like some shame and he wants to apologize, but then he looks at Brent's face and Brent, he just thinks she strikes me as the willing type, and he's like, he just gets mad again. He's like a fucking chicken. I bet when he says it, I bet his voice cracks and everything, like a chicken.
And he leaves his coat behind. I would have loved it if he'd have gone back for his coat, but oh my god,
that would have been hilarious. He walks away, right? Like you say, leaves his coat behind, and there's like a tunnel, I guess, like adjacent to the bar, and it's an outdoor bar, I'm assuming, and he kind of like he stops and collects himself. He's like, what the fuck? Because he's like, he's like really excited, like his heart is beating like crazy. He's breathing quickly, and then he overhears their confusion, and they're like, what's all that about? And then he makes a joke, basically. He's like, oh, there is one other reason. He's like, maybe he's in love. And then they all just start laughing, and then he's like, son of a bitch. No.
I really like this scene too, because he's like, Giselle is kind of self-reflective, but he's also completely naive to his own, how he actually feels. And whenever he hears this, he realizes like that it's not funny to him, and that's what makes him realize it, because he hears a joke, and then he realizes that it's not a joke for him anymore. And I just really like that moment. I think that's done really, really well for his character.
Mm-hmm. But like you said, Harrison, he is pretty self-reflective. Like at the end of the part where he thinks about like why, like how could this have happened? Is because she didn't like him.
Mm-hmm. And he's kind of, it reveals this sort of like he kind of hates himself in a way.
In a way, yeah. In a way,
it's interesting because that's most people who try and stand out and try and show off. It's because there's something about themselves that they don't like, and they're trying to like sort of foist that off on somebody else.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. He admits it. Like besides the money, the fencing, and the jaw, the jaw, of course.
Yeah, you gotta hold on to some things.
Yeah, you gotta hold on to it. And he was like, "What was there to like?" And then she treated him with the contempt he knew he deserved, and he couldn't get enough of it.
Well, because he liked the honesty,
Yeah,
his family life, his basically they said if you want to be loved, you have to become an important person. That's basically what his family's told him his whole life,
right?
Which there's a reason for that, but and so Giselle has always learned if I am to be liked, I have to become popular, blah blah blah. But he doesn't actually know what it's like to be cared for and like genuinely, and not just say, okay, go do this thing and we'll give you attention. So he's used to getting those things not on his personality, but on the things he does. So
just the way he was born.
Just the way he was born, yeah. And so now Artie, he likes it because Artie actually treats him for who he is, whether it's good or bad. She, maybe without even trying, she's probably one of the most honest people to him that he's ever encountered, and that he's given a chance to be honest to him. And he really likes that attention to who he is, even if it's a negative thing.
Yeah, that's a good point. I like that.
Good point, Harrison. Keep getting sick, Harrison. I like it.
Okay, Jeff. I'll try again next week.
He was about to break down.
And I love the way that this chapter ends as well, because it's a callback to one of the previous chapters. Can't remember exactly which one, where there's a very similar situation with the whole fencing. He's going to go give it up, and then when he sees how much RD just laughs at him, basically, it makes him want to change her mind.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And I like that. It's a good. It's like it's rhyming.
Yeah, it's like Star Wars.
Like poetry.
It's like poetry. Oh,
I know that's overdone to hell, but I really do like that little detail.
No, it's good though. It's good. I like you pointing it out, George. Don't get self-conscious about it. It's all good. We're doing a free online radio show. What the fuck?
What if our 20 listeners hear me make a mistake?
Well,
they're gonna laugh at you, George.
Yeah,
That's right.
they're gonna laugh at you. I mean, you are gonna have to deal with that.
Oh, it's just like school.
Harrison, what were you gonna say? Just like school.
I was just gonna add one more thing to the end. Is I really like here. I don't know why that Caspa is like, hey, actually, like he's actually the most like he's so sweet. Caspa is, like Gyllenhaal is a good guy, but Caspa's actually, because he's not focusing on one thing at a time, he's just chilling out. He's like, well, they are friends, that makes sense. It's okay for him to be defensive. They're pals, and maybe he's
Right.
met her. And I just like that little thing where it's a continuation of other characters in the side. I just like that. Gyllenhaal continues to be kind of this slightly oblivious but really nice guy, and then Caspa's fairly observant and just doesn't care enough to be interested, actually. And then Brent wants to sound cool and be important, kind of like Giselle, but he just isn't good at it, unlike Giselle is. I don't know. I really like those little subtle character things that are very consistent with all of them.
Right. No, that's actually a good point. I like that. Good job, Harrison. Look at you catching things like that.
Cha-cha-cha.
So for that, I'll ask you, Harrison, how would you rate this chapter?
I think I'm gonna rate this chapter a 4 out of 9. It's a pretty short chapter, but like there's the Giselle character work I think is really, really good. I think it's really subtle, and it's not something that we see a lot of in a lot of character arcs in media, where the person is like, "Oh, I am a piece of shit," and I like that. I like it a lot, but it's not very big.
Right. Okay, George.
I'm gonna give it a 6 out of 9 fingers, just for a lot of the reasons that Harrison said, but it is mostly that, he finally has this introspective moment where he kind of realizes, he says, I just assumed that everybody loved him. And it was like, when you realize that everybody has this point in their life when they realize they're not the main character.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
And I think that really resonated with me. And this is probably why I grew up quite young, because I read these books and I'm like, oh shit.
You're like, am I a cunt?
Yeah.
Well, I had that realization early on. I didn't need these books to tell me that.
Aw.
Aww. I was talking about me, not George, by the way. Anyone's confused. Lord Chamberlain is talking about Lord Chamberlain. Okay. I like that, George. That was a good one.
How about you, Jeff? What would you rate it?
I'm conflicted. Part of me wants to give it a 4 like Harrison because it's short, But another part of me is like, do I give it a 5 though? I'm gonna go my own way. I'm doing a 5. 5 out of 9 fingers for this chapter.
Jeff playing mediator.
Of course, you know me. It's my role.
I love whoever goes last. That we always have someone got a comment about them, like, "Oh, you just want to be different," or "Oh, you just want to be the same."
Yeah. We can never just let it slide.
Yeah.
Oh, but I love it though. I love it.
I do love it too.
Well, all right. So that's our chapter ratings for She Loves Me Not. Now, to move on to our next segment. A controversial one, apparently.
Okay. So we come to our next segment.
Our next segment, which is, normally it would be question of the week, but as you all know. Go ahead, George. You were
Sort of it's still a question, because we've done a poll here.
We did a poll. Right, okay.
You probably saw it if you're listening to this, and we've got a lot of really nice comments, people recommending things like Quentin Tarantino. We didn't think of that at the time.
Yeah, otherwise we would have added him, because a lot of people liked him.
Yeah, 100%.
It makes no sense that we didn't think of him, because I know we talked about him related to the First Law like a few weeks ago.
Yeah, we just forgot about it.
We were like, whatever, Kill Bill, who gives a fuck?
Yeah, so we're sorry about that to the few people that were upset by that. And Guy Ritchie's got a lot of love as well as a lot of hate. He's got the most votes. He wins the poll with 34 out of 116
So
votes.
that's it, guys. It's decided. Guy Ritchie will 100% direct the next whatever movie or film. 100%. There's no shadow of a doubt. This is dead serious. What's going to happen? We've decided it.
We have penciled that in. We have submitted our decision to the local Hollywood studios, and
I just got off the phone with Joe Abercrombie. He was quite upset.
How many votes did we get all together here?
116. So thanks,
116.
guys.
So
116 of you that voted.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
But somehow we ended up with an upvote rate of 0. So some people were very angry about this.
I see an upvote rate of 50%. Am I retarded? Do I not know?
No, as in half
that's
the
what
people
it is,
didn't
yeah.
like it, so they basically downvoted it.
Oh.
So it was, since it's 50-50, there's 0 upvotes and downvotes.
But we also had a lot of really good suggestions. So we've got, on top of the ones that we suggested, we've got the Cohen Brothers, which would be a very good choice. They do like a lot of satirical stuff. You know, if you've watched like The Big Lebowski, that's a very good sort of like, I don't want to say nihilistic because that's, but it's got a lot of satirical, very good humor. There's good fantasy stuff as well that he's done, and I reckon that would fit very well. They did even.
Yeah,
Also
that's
got
true.
a couple of people that have done a lot of Game of Thrones episodes. We've got like Martin McDonough, Neil Marshall, and Miguel Sapochnik, who are responsible for most of the very good episodes and some of the bad episodes of Game of Thrones. And
Martin McDonough directed some of the Game of Thrones? I thought it was just the other two.
Oh no, yeah, it was just the other two. My bad.
No, it's okay. It's okay.
But no, Martin McDonough's good as well. If you've ever seen
Yeah.
In Bruges is exactly the same style that they should be made in.
Yeah,
Like
In
that
Bruges
sort
is
of
great.
it's very funny, but nobody laughs.
Yeah, but it's great. It's a great movie.
Mm.
And Seven Psychopaths was good too.
Yeah, Seven Psychopaths is great.
And then 3 Billboards Outside Ebbing, Missouri. I think that's the name.
I can't vouch for that
Yeah.
one.
I watched it. It was good. It was good. It was really good.
So yeah, thanks guys. That was it was a really interesting discussion over the weekend. So
Yeah.
I will say too, like sometimes people, like in this instance here, it's really hard to pick like one director because it's hard to imagine them making something like First Law simply because the First Law Joe paints such a vivid picture, and so sometimes it's hard to match it up. For us, I think we just wanted to see what people thought would match the best. Obviously, we had a director who happened to be good at everything we wanted in the books. That's the one we would have put up there, and it would have won. But it's all just opinions and stuff. So, like, Matt Reeves, good character work, and I think it's probably why people voted for him. And then Guy Ritchie's got a really, really good style, a unique one that fits probably pretty well with the First Law. Christopher Nolan has, obviously he's really, really good with plot, and it'd be cool to see those subtle details in the First Law series. Peter Jackson obviously knows how to make a world come alive. And Quentin Tarantino has the unique style. And I just think if we had everything great about all of them, we'd have a perfect director. That's all I wanted to say.
Right. Or if we listen to one Redditor, it was like, how about no cheesy ass film or series to dumb it down, like with A Song of Ice and Fire. I would like to thank you so much for your
We had not thought about that. Just making a show good.
Right. Like,
I mean, this guy's just right. We should just delete the poll, shouldn't we? That's it.
Like, because we're actually responsible for getting a film or series off the fucking ground and adaptation. Right. Yes, that's okay. Jack.
Yeah, it's like, we did. Dude, you're right. I was wanting a cheesy knockoff. How did you know? You dissuaded me. I don't want that anymore.
Right.
And I think that is a bit ridiculous because, but apart from the last few seasons of Game of Thrones, which we're not going to get into here because this isn't a Game of Thrones podcast.
In the future,
the first 4 seasons of that show are fucking great, and they're not dumbed down or cheesy at all.
Right. I agree. First 4 are great.
So, it's tit for tat,
But everybody else, thank you for your opinions. We really appreciate it.
Yeah,
everyone else that contributed in a contributable, meaningful way. Redundancies. We thank you. For that one guy, no. The fuck.
And also, there's another comment that said someone who reads the books and respects the source material, which is, it's
Oh
just
yeah, no shit. Okay.
But still, that is still constructive, so that's nice.
Yes,
actually,
that's true.
you're right.
Because
You're right.
there are
That
plenty of people, like, for example, if we got fucking Peter Jackson to do it, and Peter Jackson's like, I'm not reading the source material, you'd be like, yo, what the fuck? No, you need to read it.
Right.
So
And I know that's happened before, where like you can obviously tell there's been a total disconnect between the director and the source material. So I want to apologize. I was just already in a mood.
he's already hyped up. Everyone get away from him.
Sorry. My apologies. I'm not going to say his name, but
No, just say his name.
Apologize. All right. So so that was it. All right, cool. I was like, wait a minute.
For our chapter,
all right, go ahead, Harrison.
For our third chapter read through, we start off with inside of a dream. Something I believe this is the first time we're in a dream as well.
I think it might be the second. I think he's had one before.
Oh yeah. Oh, that's right. He has had one before with already and all that. So
yeah.
But this one is a little bit different. And he starts off on this dream.
I love how he starts off being berated by his mother.
Yeah, and it's Colonel Glockta at this point, right? Not.
It always is in his dreams.
Mm-hmm. Go ahead, Harrison. I thought you were gonna.
No, I was just getting it off the ground for you.
So yeah, he starts off sort of, like I said, being berated by his mother, and he's like, "I've no time for this nonsense, mother." And I think this is sort of some really deeply ingrained trauma for Glockta that he's just always thinking about his mum.
Yeah, he always thinks of her in this kind of weird in between, like, oh, I love my mother, but he's also like, God, I hate my mother.
Yeah.
It's got this,
and then his mum turns into Arch Lector's soul,
which is great.
And I think I have had this dream before where your mum turns into your boss. It's strange, but it's.
Oh,
okay. All right, George.
I don't know what you guys are trying to say.
I usually skip that part, but whatever.
Oh dear.
So he obviously it's a dream. The mom turns to Arch Lector's soul, and he mentions there's two wars. One fought with fire and steel. Another one beneath an old war, long years in the making. So Glockta's getting all this unrequited exposition. He didn't ask for this. He's like, what's going on here? and then now we hear a woman's voice who's again asking him, where's the seed? And he's just so confused. And what does he say? He says that it's very cold as ice. And Glockta's freaking out. He's terrified, and he's backing away. And this womanly figure is reaching towards him and clawing at him, plucking at his clothes and stuff. And then he's just fucking frozen with fear.
Which, to be fair, I mean, I'm not sure who knows out there, but it's fairly well known that your dreams basically. Your brain is reiterating things and smushing it together like AI art or some shit. But we can't fabricate a new person in our brain. We could just smoosh them together, and make somebody new, but we can't make somebody brand new. And I always thought this was interesting because this person is somebody he's never heard before. And this person is somebody he's never even thought of. Which is an interesting little tell that even my first read through, I was like, something weird is going on here, and it was pretty creepy. I really like that part.
Yeah, we get a very horror movie sense right here, right?
Yeah,
definitely.
Yeah, and here Glockta's reciting what happens to the maker, the only thing he knows about the seed, and she's like, yeah, I know, I saw it, motherfucker. Now where is it? And then he wakes up because I guess he's in pain. He wakes up, and this makes me think Well, hold on. Actually, I'll wait till after this part because he's freaking out. He wakes up. He's coated in sweat. He's looking at that chair like, is there anybody in that chair?
Which I absolutely I thought this too. George sometimes likes to paint the picture and stuff too of the movie scene. Like I can imagine that dream in the movie, and everyone is like, or in a TV show. And up to this point, there has been a little bit of kind of a creeping sense, like whenever he was in the university, talking about the past. But here we have a different sense, and he has that nightmare, and then you wake up and it's all dark and stuff, and it's you can go from Galacta's vision, and it just shows that chair in a still image right before somebody was there, and maybe you could even show the chair like rocking back and forth a little bit or something. And it's you can barely see it too. Like it's one of those ones where it's so dark you see the outline of the chair and you think maybe there is somebody in it because it's so dark. Your brain starts putting things there.
Yeah.
And then then Glock wakes himself back up to reality, and then we unfocus out from that horror aspect. But I just love that whole.
I love it as well. It's fantastic. It's sort of I don't know if you've ever guys have ever had sleep paralysis.
I have.
Very reminiscent of that. You're stuck in your bed and there's someone stood at the bottom of your bed asking you questions, and it's very much like that. It's terrifying.
I've never had that, but that is terrifying.
No, it's freaky as shit. It's I think it only happened to me like twice, maybe in my entire life, but it's crazy.
What do they ask you? Were they like?
No one asked me shit. It was just I can't remember. It was like night terrors, but I couldn't move. I was just experiencing shit right before my very eyes. It was the weirdest thing.
Yeah. Ugh.
Yeah.
So he wakes up and he just falls straight out.
So yeah, he wakes up and he's in pain, obviously, and there's a knocking at the door, and Glock is just like, oh fuck, it's Barnum. There we go, Harrison. And
I've broken my fucking arm, Barnum.
Yeah, he hurt his arm, and he's like, oh fuck, Frost is gonna have to break down the door because Glock always locks his door. Lo and behold, the door isn't locked. He's like, what's going on here? But Barnum looks at his arm, doesn't think it's broken, goes and leaves. He leaves Glock for a minute to go get, I guess, the
surgeon.
Surgeon, and to wrap up his arm, take care of it, blah blah blah. In that moment, Glock is now alone, and now he's getting scared again.
Yeah, which I mean, he was like, I locked that fucking door. He even mentions it before, like how he always locks the door.
Mm-hmm. And the key's still in there.
Yeah, I really like that part too because it shows without pushing it too hard or showing too many things. It's like all creepy and stuff, but it's not just a nightmare at that point. You know that there's something going on for sure at that point because you're like, why is the door unlocked?
Right. Although, which begs the question, right? If something can affect his dream, does it really need to go through a door? Doesn't it really need to unlock a door? Can it just be by his window, or does he not have windows?
I like that, and I like this sort of it's a bit of intrigue, a bit more intrigue because Glock's most of his story is about intrigue. But I think it could be sort of read as sort of like a mental decline. Like he's getting affected by what he's researching. He's getting too far into it. You see that a lot in detective films. Where
it is a little bit, right? To a certain degree, he is getting a little bit too into it. Like even without this dream, even before the dream, he starts thinking about stuff more in depth, and he starts being like, no. He's in denial. There's a little bit of that going on, which I like how that blends together, where it's not exactly clear how much of this is him being paranoid and how much of this is something else.
Yeah, so he's had a hell of a morning, obviously, and then we catch up to him. We catch up to him a little bit later, and he goes to see Severard, and because Severard calls for him. And Glock is like, what? What do you want? And he's like, well, we found this. And then it's just like whatever it is. It's just a piled mess of flesh. To the point where they're like, well, we know it's human. because there's a foot.
It's like, oh yeah, it's like, oh yeah.
Yeah. Like, oh yeah, he's like that. So okay, that is a human foot. So we know it's that. Other than that, we don't know anything about it. Can't tell if it's a man, it's a woman. Can't tell if it's old. None of them, right? And he's just like, I don't know what to tell you, man. I'm sorry. And Glocta, he pointed out that he saw something like this once when he was in England, being the Inquisitor over there, where a bear, basically ate,
destroyed a prisoner.
a corpse, whatever.
And I like it's just like in the middle of this like well-groomed garden, like in the middle of the biggest fortress in the world, in the middle of the biggest city in the world, and he's just stood there like, right. How the fuck did this happen?
Right.
Yeah, it wasn't even like properly disposed of, like it just was like
just right
left.
there. And then so he's like, all right, so who gives a fuck about this then? So like, why are we even like, we're supposed to be watching, Baez, and then Severod's like, well, that's the whole thing is like their new living quarters are right there. They're like 20 strides away, and he's like, oh, that's interesting, isn't it? A dead body 20 strides away.
Subtle.
What's Baez? It's probably Logan. What's Logan getting up to now?
So basically, Severod's like, well, what the fuck you want me to do? And Glocter's like, well, take it to the university. And he's like, what? I just like this little line where Glocta's everybody loves Glocta's inner monologue. Like it's so good. But I just love how he's like, we don't want any young ladies to be freaked out by this. I love that he says this, even though it's not even his intention. Like he wants to take it to go get looked at. It just is like, I don't know. I don't find that line funny to me.
Yeah.
Oh, I like the little bit right before that though, where Severod asks him like, "Oh, so what do you got in the final for the contest?" And then
it's completely off subject.
Like, completely subject straight away. Like,
yeah, and he's like,
"Oh, enough about the dead body. Who do you fancy for the final?"
Yeah, exactly. It's like he's just used to it, and then he's like Gorst, and he's like, "I hope he carves fucking Giselle in two."
I wish he would have said though, like a fucking chicken,
And that would have been hilarious.
There's a missed opportunity, Joe. You failed.
Yeah, and he's prescient in the sense that like he can see that in the future, like a couple of years they'll be fencing like George, not George Gorst.
So, but he says that everyone will start fencing like that, because he suspects that Gorst is he's like, yeah, Gorst is gonna win. Everyone's gonna be like, oh my god, I want to be like Gorst when I grow up.
I think that's interesting, but at the same time, Gorst's only winning because he's big. He can only have those big steals and throw him around because he's big.
Well, I don't
know about that.
I mean, yeah,
you've got to be pretty strong to use just a regular fencing sword. Like
no,
the swords that they're working with here, are sort of, like rapiers, basically,
right?
Or more like maybe more like
cutlass,
like a cavalry sort of a cutlass, that kind of thing. And to just move one of them around in fencing doing this is fucking hard work. So in order to have one that's like 2 or 3 times heavier than a regular sword, and move that around, you've got to be big and you've got to have a lot of core strength.
I mean, that's true, but and even then, Gorst is a pretty big guy, but he's more like he's a buff guy. He's not like crazy, huge, tall. He's buff, and he's a bit bigger. And
he's a beefcake.
Yeah, he has.
He's just well built, isn't he? And I think in any case, 50% of that is going to be genetics.
Yeah, but he's also quick too.
I mean, he is very quick, and he trains a ton. Yeah. And here's something with training. I don't know how much you guys have done with like training for like fighting or martial arts and stuff. But most of it, as you know, Jeff, is conditioning.
Yeah.
Because if you're not in good condition, you're gonna fucking fail.
Sucks.
So I would say, yeah, he's big, but a lot of it is his discipline for training so consistently. He knows how to fence. If he had the light steals, yes, would his style be as effective? No, but I still think he would be very, very good because he still knows how to fence. It's I don't think he relies that he uses that as an advantage, but I don't think that's his only advantage he has. Is just because he's big.
Okay, yeah.
Look at Harrison coming to the defense of Gorst.
But
yeah,
it's definitely
but what I
fact.
mean is, it's like it's a style that you can't really copy.
Oh,
Right.
You know what I mean? Like the kind of people
oh.
that are already in the contest. You know, we've got these
Right.
young nobles. They're not going to be working out all the time, but they practice like Giselle does. But they're not going to get the
Be
kind of
conditioned,
strength.
yeah.
Because I mean, in one of these chapters, he's described as being sort of more like a labourer. You know, big and bulky. Whereas
Yeah.
most noblemen are not going to be like that. So what I mean is, it's sort of going to change like who plays the contest.
Dynamics. Oh, I see what you're saying, George.
Okay,
I got you,
okay.
man. I got you. Yeah, no, that makes perfect sense because, like you said, it's genetics, and also like the I think kind of like what that's right. What Glockter's saying is that the way the contest is going to be won is going to be different because if Gorst wins, then it won't be a pretty boy nobleman. It'll only be bigger people fighting in the same way that Gorst is fighting. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, exactly.
I got you. That makes
And
sense.
you know, you could easily avoid all this just by introducing weight classes, but you know.
Who wants to deal with that?
Yeah. Let's try and make sense of everything in fiction.
Right. So then, okay, so they take the body to the university and they take it to the Adeptus Physical because the historical is still, reeling from the damage that Glockta did by stealing the damn scroll.
Yeah.
Right. And so he's like, well, this is an interesting discovery you made here. This is nice. I like this. I like this.
I love his fucking voice as well. Stephen Pacey's voice for this is just incredible. Like, quite a fascinating discovery. And it just sounds like, that typical fucking nerdy guy that everybody knows, pushes his glasses up and goes, well, actually.
Oh my God.
You know exactly what I mean. Everyone knows.
I know exactly what you mean.
But I also like how we have like the same sort of lab, stereotypical lab with all the floating specimens and things like that. It's exactly the same as the Adeptus Chemicals lab, just with different stuff in it.
Yeah. Yeah, I like, and you you don't see it when you're reading the book, but like Pacey adds this kind of the nervous chuckle, like kind of embarrassed, demeanor to the Adeptus Physical. He's all like, "Oh, yeah, it might be not human,"
I think that it does come across in the text. There's lots of and and things like that, which a lot of characters don't have. But I definitely agree that Pacey definitely delivers that sort of proper character to it.
And they start examining the body, and basically, the Adeptus Physical, in a roundabout way, says, "I have no fucking clue what this is, other than the fact that it was obviously chomped by a human."
Yeah, he's like, it could be young, could be old. He's like, the teeth are in good condition, but that could be anything.
Yeah, I love how he is trying. He's like, well, right here, you could see that this person could be a female, but they could also be a male.
Glockta's just like, what?
And he's like, what can you tell me? And that's when he says the teeth are human.
I like how he says the same thing that Sevrod does, where he's like, look, it's a foot.
And then, but yeah, he's like you said, Harrison, he is able to see that these bite marks are, human made. And so Glockta's just like, what? He's like, you want me to tell the Arch Lector that this thing whatever this was eaten by a human?
And this is interesting because we know, and obviously if other parties in Angela knew this, then it would be completely different. But Glockta doesn't know about eaters.
Right.
So we do, and we can read this and go, oh, something is going on, something creepy's happening, and it justifies his whole dream sequence earlier.
But he doesn't even know that. He might
But
just
he
think he's
doesn't
going
know
crazy.
anything about that.
Yeah, he just thinks he had a bad dream.
Mm.
He blames it all on Logan and the idiot apprentice. Quai, poor Quai.
And then who walks in?
Oh shit!
Finally.
Inquisitor Glocta. I love his voice as well. There's so many good voices in this chapter.
Superior Goyle. Oh, this dude, he's immediately annoying. Like you could just tell, like, oh, I see why Glocta doesn't like him.
Yeah.
Pretentious fucker. He's like, I collect these practicals on my travels. I feel like they allow me to express myself in my true sense. Blah blah blah. It's like, fuck you, Goyle. Oh my god.
Yeah, and the three practicals are practical. Vitari is a red-haired woman, which we've been excited to see, and there is a Northman whose name is Stone Splitter.
Yeah.
I can't fucking say it. Otherwise known as Stone Shitter. But we'll get to that later. And then there is a southern a Cantic man.
And I like how we have one of each. We know of 3 places at the moment, or 4 places. We know of the Union, Styria, the North, and the South, and we've got one of each here.
Yeah. The one from the south is Halim or Halim.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Halim. Yeah, and it's interesting too. Like he says that he's like, "Oh, I picked him up on my travels." Blah 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 blah. This isn't a big spoiler, but we know that Vitari was actually working for Sult at one time and not working for Goyle, so he didn't pick her up around the world. And he basically, you can tell that the other 2 practicals are like in a complete disconnection with him as well. Like he hasn't picked them up around the world. What the fuck are you talking about?
He's definitely an egotist, isn't he? He brings all these people around him so that he looks more interesting, but he's just a bit of a cunt.
Yeah, for sure.
Again, love that subtlety of he has all these people from around the world on purpose, just like you said, George, just so that way he looks more fucking well-rounded or whatever.
Cultured.
Yeah.
He's a cultured barbarian.
Yeah, that's what it is. And then, he walks in, and he's, after he's done boasting and shit, he's like, "What's this?" And he's, it's the body on the table, and then basically he's like,
I like how he pretends to not see it.
Yeah.
Just walks in, big body, like fucking gory mess on the table, and he's just like talking to everyone, talking about his practicals, and he's just like a stage sort of like acting surprised, like, "What's this?"
Yeah, he has the whole monologue before he says anything related to the fucking body.
What a strange man.
He's a very strange man. Harrison, what were you gonna say?
I was just laughing.
Oh. Right, and then he's like, "This is just dogs." And then Glox is like, "What?
Dogs?" He's like, "What the fuck?"
Yeah. He's like, "Which ones? The people's pets inside the Agrion, or the wild ones that climb over the walls? Like, what the fuck?" He was because obviously Glocta does not like Goyle, and I'm just confused as to so he's obviously adamant about it being dogs, even because when the Adeptus Physical, your cohort, Harrison, was trying to say, "Oh, those are human bite marks, undoubtedly," and then Vitari's like, "Dogs," and then all the other practicals, they're like saying, "Dogs, dogs," and so then he's like, "Of course, it's dogs. Yeah. I'm an idiot. I'm so sorry."
Again, and it would be intimidating because Vitari is a pretty big woman. She fucking gets right in his face and she goes, "Dogs."
Dogs.
It's such a ridiculous scene because then the Goyle as well is at the end. So he like throws up his arms and he's like, "Dogs." He's like, "Yay, we figured it out.
The mystery is solved." And then, to Glocta's amazement, 2 of the 3 practicals began politely to applaud.
They applaud. It's such a ridiculous spectacle.
It's ridiculous. And then And then Gloctus just had enough of it, and he's just like, "All right, well, you don't need me anymore. I'm out."
I do love the tone in his voice. He's like, "Well, all right, I guess the mystery's solved."
He's so done with it. He's just like, "Okay." And then he goes, "You don't need me anymore." And then here Goyle stops being all, pretentious, good humor, all that jazz. He's just like, "No, we don't need you anymore." It's like, holy shit, where did this come from? I don't get why he was so adamant about it being dogs, though. Do you?
Well, we could go down Theoryville here. But George, what do you think it is?
I think it's just a convenient excuse, isn't it? It's just, what else could chew someone up in the middle of the Union, where, as far as we know, there's not really any wildlife that can come around, which is why Gloctor's just like, wild dogs are like pets. Because I can imagine this like being the work of a Chihuahua, because Chihuahuas are evil.
Well, he probably just also wants to fuck with Glocta.
What's the what?
Fuck with Glocta.
I thought you said he wants to fuck Glocta. What?
George is like, he wants to what? Fuck a what?
Fuck a what?
Fuck him, is it?
Fuck him, is it? No, fuck with Glocta.
Okay. Sorry.
It's okay. George is
of
like,
course.
Why didn't you say so the first time?
But it is interesting to think, knowing that what we know, that what is his kind of goal here. Obviously he's particularly interested in this body, and he's particularly interested in making sure Glocta doesn't find out what it is.
So, I think
we can save that for the spoiler.
Yeah, I will. I will say that from this point of view, I would say kind of agree with you, George. Is that he is he just doesn't care enough. He's like, this is an easy convenience. This is beneath me. I don't care about this. We're not going to find anything about this anyways. Like, whatever.
Yeah.
Like, he doesn't actually care about the truth. Glocta does. So
I get it now. Okay, now I get it. So it's more like, just get this over with already. Got it.
But there might be something else.
Ooh.
The plot unfolds. The plot
Thickens. I like that. Alrighty. What would you guys rate this chapter as? George, you go first.
I would give this one another 6, I reckon. Another 6 out of 9. Because I love the Glocta dream sequence. I love the creepy horror tone. I could really see Sam Raimi directing that, to be honest. That's a callback, in case you missed that.
Oh, I didn't realize, George. Nice one.
You were so subtle with it, George. Continue.
We're just being dicks now.
I know. Continue, George. I'm sorry.
But no, I like this chapter. I like everything about it. I love the bit in the university. I love Glocta and Severod's random casual conversation in front of a body in public. And I love Goyle and his practicals, his little parade of clowns. I think they're very interesting. So yeah, 6 out of 9. What about you guys?
Jeff?
I'll 5 and a knuckle. Yeah, I mean, just a shy less than yours, George. I like it. Just not, just not much happened. Just Glocta had, he basically soiled himself while sleeping, and then saw a dead body, and then brought that dead body to a university goofball, who then was bullied into saying it was canines. So, it was. I liked it. Just not a lot happened. But what was my favorite part, honestly, is probably the dream sequence, because it made it seem like it tells the reader that the seed is something that's
A thing.
everywhere. Yeah, a thing. Yeah.
I would probably. That's kind of a hard one for me. Like, I agree with both of you guys because you're right. Not a whole bunch happens, especially like on a read through, a reread through, because it's like we kind of already know that these are just stepping stones and some setup. But at the same time, it's of course it's you got some new characters introduced. The dream sequence is written really, really well, and it's really funny. um, I'm gonna go ahead and give it a six and a knuckle. I like it.
Oh, 6 and a knuckle.
Yeah, I like it quite a bit. But I also agree that it sets things up, and I like the whole little introduction of Goyle and his practicals and stuff. But also, I don't know. I feel kind of confused about it, to be honest.
It's a tough chapter to rate.
Because there's a lot of like little things going on, and it's.
Mm-hmm. You guys okay?
Give us a fucking rating, man.
What?
Harrison just disconnected, I think.
What? I'm still here, bro.
No, he's still here.
I didn't hear you for like a minute there.
Oh no, I gave you a rating. I said 6 and a knuckle.
Oh shit! Sorry, was that right at the beginning?
No.
no.
I gave a little explanation. Well, it wasn't the beginning. Yeah, because I said I'm gonna give it 6 and a knuckle. No, you're good. You're good.
Jeff started saying, "Are you guys there?" And I was like, "Oh my god, my 5 disconnected as well."
I was confused. I was like, "What's going on?" I heard. Okay. All right. So 6 and a knuckle for you, Harrison.
Yes.
Okay.
6 and a knuckle for me. It's kind of a hard chapter to rate, to be honest.
Right. That's what I was trying to say. Like, it's a difficult chapter to rate.
I don't think so. I think it's just a solid, 5.
Oh, okay.
A 6 even.
Damn.
No.
You don't even know what you said, George.
Yeah,
Goopy. What I was just trying to say was that, like, I don't know if I want to rate it a 5 or a 6. Like, it's tough. Like, that's what I was trying to mean when I say it's difficult for me to rate.
Okay.
And I meant like because like the tone is like goes from being like creepy and like what's going on to being like, oh, this is really goofy, what's going on, but you don't actually get any answers, but it's also written really well and you're entertained the whole time. So to me, it's kind of difficult for me to rate.
Oh, okay.
For those reasons, it's kind of all over the place, but all in a good way. So it's like
okay. All right. Well, let's move on to our character spot. Guys, want to take this away?
Person?
Yeah, our character spot for the week is going to be the Adeptus Physical. Purely for the fact that his little role here in the seed chapter is entertaining, and I feel like it's if he's like a little scientist, right? He doesn't get out very much. He doesn't talk to people, and he is somebody brings him a body, and he is super interested. Like he wants to look at it, he wants to study, he wants to talk about it. And then, but at the same time, you're the guy that you're talking to who could get you money to investigate it further. Is like, I want answers, but there is no answers. It's just interesting. So he's kind of excited and jittery to be like, look at this and look at that. But he's not giving any answers, which is what the guy wants. So then you finally come up with something interesting, and your employer is like, oh, that is good. And you're like, yeah, okay, let's look at it more. Let's get into it. And then somebody else comes in and he's like, gets all up in your face, intimidates you, and you just have to basically shut up and do your job. And you're like, oh, okay.
Oh yeah, and I can definitely see this because I've kind of worked in sort of like a scientific background. And it is very much like this. Like if you find something interesting and somebody's just like, nope, just ignore it. And it's like, oh, okay.
Oh, okay. You just drop it? You just drop it? Okay.
Yeah, that's depressing.
Oh.
And I can imagine this is like the most interesting thing that's ever happened to this guy. Like he's like, there's been a murder in the city and it's like been bitten by humans. He's like fucking excited as shit.
He's like, I gotta take this body, I gotta examine it, I gotta know everything about it.
He's been prodding it. He prods it a lot, doesn't he? He likes to do that.
Yeah, he prods it. He's just like, he peels and he's like, prod.
He's like trying to hold everybody's interest with his dialogue, but no one cares. Sad.
Right. Mm-hmm. So, and do you think he like conferred with the Adeptus Historical about like, oh, Inquisitor Glocta's coming? What do you know?
No, he probably doesn't even know that the Adeptus Historical is alive. No, the Adeptus The adept
He probably does.
historical might be dead already. You never know. No, he's not dead because he pierced it.
Yeah, he's just like, you motherfucker. That motherfucker stole my book, my scroll. Oh.
I just like to think that none of the other Adepti talk to the Adeptus Historical.
They just like
Yeah,
leave
they
him
I say I
alone
like
in
to
his
think,
tower.
I hate to think it, but you know, poor guy's
Yeah,
stuck
yeah.
up there with his fucking raven, and they're just like,
Yeah.
oh, fucking.
You know, fucking 100-year-old man.
Shit,
don't want to go up there. It smells like
just
bird
shitting
shit.
everywhere.
Exactly, it
Yeah,
smells
oh
like
yeah, it
guano.
does.
So why the fuck would you want to go up there?
Guano, that's bat droppings.
No, I think it's any bird dropping.
Guano
isn't
is
it?
any kind of like bird or flying
Yeah.
things.
You
Yeah.
sure?
Yeah, it's like it's what
Oh.
it's like what it's made out of.
Oh,
Although I've just looked it up and no, ravens don't do guano.
Oh,
It's just seabirds.
you won this one, Jeff.
Yeah, fuck you,
Well, I said bats.
Jeff. Oh, seabirds and bats. Yeah.
No, so I guess I did win this one. I knew that from Ace Ventura. Chicago.
So, does that mean that crow guano is just poop? Shit? It's just shit?
No, I think it's just still bird shit, but it's like it's different.
It's still bird shit.
I could go on a really long rant about what different animals make different poo, but
I want to hear.
No, I
I
don't
want to
think-
hear. I'm
I don't-
interested. Okay, we'll wait for after.
we'll do a side
We'll do-
video about that. So guys, tune
Yeah,
in
that's
if
what
you
we'll
want to
do.
hear about bird shit. We'll do a video on that soon.
Yeah, we're so excited to do that one. What else about the Adeptus physical that you want?
Oh yeah, that's what we were
highlight?
doing. Yeah.
Are you alright, George?
Yeah. No, I do like the guy. Like he's so like dedicated. He does get a lot of things right. You know, it would be very difficult to identify like teeth marks.
Yeah, like right off
And-
the bat too.
Exactly, yeah, and he's done this quite quickly as well. He's obviously a very competent sort of scientist. So I think it's very difficult for him, especially, and I feel bad for him that he's just been bullied out of his moment in the sun. You know, so poor guy.
Never to be heard from again. Poor Adeptus physical. That's all right. He's all right.
Yeah, it's all right.
He'll be all right. He'll be all right. Okay, so that's our show, everyone. We want to thank you all for listening and supporting this podcast. As you all know, this is a passion project for the three of us, and your support really does mean a lot to us.
Join us next week as we cover Never Bet Against a Magus and The Ideal Audience.
And as always, remember to follow us on social media. And thank you very much, Fisticuff Sam, for our meme of the week this week. And thanks for everybody that answered the poll.
And if you haven't already, please subscribe to our podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, or any other podcast app that you use. And please make sure to rate and review this podcast as it helps to spread our reach. Thank you all again for listening.
I'll carve you like a fucking chicken.